Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat at welcome po sa Kalingang Katribu Legal Diaries. Ako po si Elmer Navarro Manuel at ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon ay tungkol sa mga administrative cases o mga kasong pwede nating isampa o ireklamo laban sa mga government employees at mga government officials. At para ipaliwanag sa atin kung ano-ano nga ba ang mga ito, kasama natin ngayon ang Associate Lawyer ng Aranas Cruz, Araneta Parker and Post Offices na si Atty. Julo Taleon. Attorney, good afternoon po.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon po sa ating mga taga-subaybay. Sir Elmer, good afternoon. By the way, it's Juan Romulo po. Julo for short.
Julo.
Yes, sir.
Mali. Sabi sa inyo eh. Mali ako eh. Alright. Sir Julo, ayan. Pag-uusapan natin ngayon eh tungkol sa mga government officials at employees at yung mga pwedeng kung paano na tayo magkakaso sa kanila or magsasampa ng reklamo laban sa mga to. Siguro ang unang tanong dyan, sir, ano bang tawag kapag ka nagreklamo ka laban sa mga government officials o government employees? Anong tamang term?
Generally, kung titingnan natin, pwedeng matawag din na impeachment kasi, for example, yung president is, of course, from the executive branch of the government. Diba? But there is a specific pangalan talaga. It is what we call administrative cases for the government employees, not including those that are not including those officers na impeachable.
Okay. Yung mga naman, attorney, mga government employees, yun din, kasama rin doon, administrative ang pwedeng i-file na kaso sa kanila. Okay, ano ba or hanggang saan ba ang accountability ng ating mga government employees at officials bago natin sila masabing nakalabag sila ng batas o mukhang inargrabyado tayo? Hanggang saan ho yung accountability nila ron?
Kung tutuusin, kung titingnan natin under the Administrative Code of the Philippines and the Constitution mismo, nagsabi na ang public office is a public trust. Once yung trust is wala na, or they have violated the trust that reposed into them by the Constitution or the laws that or the charter na kung saang government offices sila, then they can be subjected to administrative cases.
Okay. Ano naman ho yung mga parang proceedings para or kung paano ka, let's say, magrereklamo ko sa mayor namin, saan ho ba ako pwedeng lumapit or anong klaseng proseso ba ang kailangan ko pagdaanan bago makarating yung reklamo against dun sa kunwari sa mayor, ganun.
Kung titingnan natin, for example, sa mayor, it is, tingnan natin yung RACs, yun yung tawag sa Rules on Administrative, if I'm not mistaken, it's Rules on Administrative Cases in the Civil Service. Recently, it's 2017 ata. Okay. And under the rules, yung disciplining officer, tingnan natin yung mayor, pwede siyang mag-investigate na siya mismo if ever there is a complaint, or pwede ding masasabi na meron ding tayong tinatawag na anonymous complaint
Okay.
Kung saan any person, kung example, there's no name, ayaw niyang magpakilala, pwede po yung any person na yan na nakakaalam ng something anomalous na ginagawa ng isang government employee or official, can in a way make an anonymous complaint addressed to the disciplining authority or yung mayor mismo.
Okay. Attorney, yan, banggit mo nga, no? So, pwede kang mag-file ng complaint na
Mm.
hindi nila malalaman na ikaw o sa'yo
Mm.
galing yung complaint. Tapos, isasubmit mo yon sa, let's say, sa mayor mismo o dun sa tinawag nyo kaninang disciplinary
Disciplining authority. It's
disciplining authority.
either the mayor or the governor
Mhm.
or yung mga department heads, like for example, department secretaries. Kasi yung under nila, pwede mong makasuhan or pwede mong makafile ng complaint.
Mm.
And hindi din mawawala yung ombudsman eh.
Okay.
Kasi yung ombudsman mismo, parang lahat ng government official, lahat ng government officers or employees can be subjected to the power of the ombudsman.
Okay. So, ibig sabihin, meron pa talagang mas mataas na authority kaysa dun sa mga public officials natin. Let's say, kung presidente gusto mong i-impeach, magkakaroon ng, ewan ko kung tama ako, magkakaroon ng parang yung Senate magiging impeachment court, parang ganun.
Yan po. But it must comes from the House of Representatives.
Mhm.
Kasi yung House of Representatives, parang dyan mismo magagaling yung impeachment complaint, then yung Senate lang ang parang maging tribunal.
Ayan. Okay. Alright. Eto naman, attorney, let's say kung sakali ngang meron kang reklamo laban sa mga government employees o government officials, meron ka ba dapat na mga guidelines na sundin bago ka mag-file ng complaint? O kailangan ba talaga matibay na ebidensya mo? Meron kang video na nahuli mo si Mayor na nagsasabong doon sa kabilang kanto, parang gano'n.
Pwede po. But it must be within the kailangan po hindi po ito labag sa batas. For example, yung video na yan, we must put into consideration that there is what we call anti-wiretapping law, parang anti-wiretapping law na yung pag-video mismo pwedeng ma-consider siya na labag.
Mhm.
But when it comes sa violation ng, for example, you said mismo, Mayor, kung it is somewhat documented naman po, tapos alam naman ng tao na yung mayor is nagsasabong, which is in violation katulad ngayon, di ba? Hindi pwede tayo magsabong because of the
bawal.
protocols by the IATF. Then pwede po yung ma-filehan ng mayor. And sa ombudsman, if necessary. Basta it is well documented and we have evidence to prove that the mayor is there and he is participating in sa pagsabong mismo, which is illegal in a sense.
Okay. Paano, attorney, kunwari, let's say, lumabas sa social media, naunang kumalat sa social media, ilagay sa Facebook, yun, si Mayor, kita mo, yun, nagkasabong doon. Ayan, pwede na bang gawing ebidensya yon kung nauna nang kumalat sa social media?
May qualification po tayo dyan kasi kung yung nagpakalat mismo ng media is a media practitioner, for example, yung Daily Tribune, then hindi, it is well documented, it is publicly, parang nakita na mismo ng public and from the media mismo. So, pwede po nating ma-consider na evidence yan. And pwede po siyang ma-file ng administrative case sa ombudsman or since his salary grade is, if I'm not mistaken, 27, baka pwede pa. Baka Sandigan Bayan po yung may jurisdiction dyan.
Okay. So, ibig sabihin talagang meron meron pa rin at least mga parameters na kailangan sundin para dun sa mga gagawing ebidensya. Okay, attorney, ano ba yung mga tinatawag nilang administrative disciplinary proceedings under the Civil Service Commission? Ano yung mga stages nito, attorney?
Stages, first would be the filing of the complaint. Like a criminal case, kailangan po tayong dumaan sa filing of a complaint.
Okay.
Yung complaint, it refers to the means kung saan to bring attention of the proper disciplining authority or the commission. Yung commission or infraction by the one being complained of. Kung ano yung kasalanan niya or kung ano yung nagawa niya which is punishable under the law. First, it must be in writing. It must be notarized. Word 2 must contain the name and addresses of the complainant and the one being complained of and yung position niya sa gobyerno, kung ano siya yung position niya, and the office of employment. It must also contain yung facts kung saan paano niya ginawa ano yung ginawa niya, and at the same time, those acts constituting kung anong administrative infraction po yun. But under the RACs, or yung sinasabi ko ngang kanina was the rules on administrative cases in the civil service, pwede may tingnan po tayo sa Civil Service Commission na website, meron po doong anonymous complaint, kung saan doon mismo parang may form na po sila, lagyan na lang po natin yung form, then i-attach po natin yung mga relevant documents that would show na that person has committed such infraction. The next would be after the filing of the complaint, meron din po tayong preliminary investigation. It's different from the preliminary investigation in the criminal case.
Okay.
Because in this preliminary investigation, it is a proceeding to determine kung there exists a probable cause to warrant the issuance, hindi po warrant of arrest, but of a formal charge. It involves a fact-finding examination ng records and documents submitted by the complainants and the persons complained of. It also involves the documents, kung available, yung mga available na documents that would show na if nararapat bang filean ng administrative case yung taong involved. After nito is, if there is a probable cause, then the disciplining authority will issue a formal charge.
Okay.
And in this formal charge, china-charge niya yung taong involved dito. Ang disciplining authority shall now direct yung accused to answer yung mga complaint against him. There's a period in this, it's either para 72 hours from receipt of the formal charge. Simultaneous po din yung while after na file ng formal charge, there is also the disciplining authority para hindi po yung inaakusahan, hindi po siya makaapekto sa investigasyon, pwede din po yung disciplining authority maka-issue ng preventive suspension.
Okay.
This preventive suspension is not a penalty po. It is designed merely, parang measure po siya as a precaution para hindi po hindi
makahadlang.
Maka-apekto,
Yan,
hindi maka-apekto, hindi makahadlang sa investigation ng disciplining authority if totoo ba yung complaint against him. After that po, there is what we call a formal investigation. Now, once nakasubmit na yung party, yung kinireklamo ng answer niya, parang may formal investigation na po yan. It's either pwede pong mag-request ang nirereklamo na kung gusto niya magka-hearing, meron po parang trial type na hearing po tayo dyan. Or kung gusto niya lang na mag-submit ng answer, or pwede din po siyang mag-request na doon na lang siya sa answer, mag-submit na lang siya ng written answer, pwede din po yan. It is ang formal investigation is conducted by the disciplining authority where the merits of the case cannot be decided judiciously without conducting such investigation. So kailangan po tayo mag-imbestiga dito. I mean, kailangan po yung disciplining authority mag-investigate.
Okay.
Or when the respondent elects to have one, in which case the investigation shall be held not earlier than 5 days, nor later than parang 10 days po ata from receipt of the respondent's answer. So parang may trial base po tayo dyan. Then after that, doon na po magdi-decide ang disciplining authority whether yung nirereklamo is guilty or not. Guilty of the charges or exonerate him from the charges.
Okay.
Ganun po yung proseso.
Pero attorney, magkaiba ba yung proseso niyan? Kunwari, government official, tapos yung ibang kaso naman, government employee lang? Or same din yung proceeding nila?
Generally, same din yung proceedings. Kasi kung government official, under the ombudsman, kaya especially kung mayor or those with a salary grade of 27 and those that have violated under the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, parang ganun po. It's either under the ombudsman, yung mga ombudsman magpapalabas ng parang investigation, then it's either yung ombudsman i-file nila sa Sandigan Bayan, but the process still is the same eh.
The same.
The fact, parang as long as in-afford ng due process yung nirereklamo and all the evidence have been taken into consideration. Parang ganun po.
Okay. Alright, attorney, magbe-break muna tayo saglit. Pagbalik natin, itutuloy natin tong discussion natin about filing of administrative cases sa ating mga government officials and employees. Huwag po kayong alis at babalik pong muli ang Kalingang Katribu Legal Diaries.
Magpabakura kayo.
This public service advisory is brought to you by Daily Tribune and 100.3 RJFM.
Magandang araw mga katribu! Narito na ang mga makakasama nyo tuwing umaga sa programang Gising Na. Roy Pelovelo, Comfy Manalo, Chinky Mangkukang, Vernon Velasco, Kim Sancha at Chirk Balagtas. Abangan ang programang Gising Na mula alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga sa Facebook page ng Daily Tribune.
Ilabas ng mainit na kape at samahan kami sa inyong pag-almusal, mga katribo.
Sama-sama natin alamin ang mga natatagong istorya sa mga latest na kaganapan sa loob at labas ng bansa.
Simulan ang bawat umaga with good vibes sa mga informative and recreational segments dito sa ating programa.
Maaari niyo rin ibahagi sa amin ang inyong opinion via Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now sa YouTube.
Makichika na rin sa latest showbiz happenings, mga katribo.
Kaya naman, magkita-kita po tayo mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga at magsama-sama po tayo sa
Gising Na!
Magpabakura kayo.
Nagbabalik po muli ang Kalingang Katribu Legal Diaries at syempre kasama pa rin natin si Atty. Julo Taleon. Alright, attorney, eto. Siyempre, binigay nyo kanina yung stages or gagawin para mag-file ng administrative cases. Ano-ano ho ba yung mga offenses or yung classification ng offenses na maaari mong ireklamo laban sa isang government official o government employee?
Kung classification ng offenses, meron tayong grave, less grave offenses, and light offenses. Yung grave offenses, ito yung punishable by dismissal or from service for the first offense. Or meron din tayong grave, but yung penalty niya is suspension of 6 months and 1 day to 1 year on the first offense.
Okay.
Yung, can be considered din po na grave offenses yung demotion. Yung less grave offenses naman po are those punishable by suspension of 1 month and 1 day to 6 months for the first offense. Second offense may be punished, I'm not quite sure, by suspension siguro. If I'm not mistaken, it is punished by suspension of 6 months and 1 day to 1 year. Or dismissal from the service. Ito yung less grave offenses. Yung light offenses naman po are those punishable by reprimand or on the first offense, suspension of 1 to 30 days for the second offense and dismissal from service for the third offense.
Okay. Ano ba yung nagko-constitute sa mga grave offenses, attorney? Ito ba yung mga nagnakaw talaga sa kaban ng bayan o kunwari naglamyerda habang may pandemya, parang gano'n.
Parang gano'n po siya kung titingnan natin eh. Grave nga po eh, di ba? Parang, di ba supposed to be public office is a public trust and once na they've done something anomalous which are punishable under the law, more particularly the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, meron din po tayong Anti-Red Tape Law. Doon po nakikita natin kung ano yung mga punishable acts na pwedeng masabing grave or less grave na for that situation or for kung anong ginawa ng government employee on that one.
Okay. Alright, ito attorney, may tanong kasi dito na imbis suspension ang gawing penalty, pwede bang i-fine na lang yung mga government officials o employees na mahahatulan na guilty ng ombudsman o ng Sandigan Bayan kung sakaling talaga nagkasala sila? Pwede bang fines na lang? Magbayad na lang sila ng fine kaysa i-suspend sila?
May qualification po tayo dyan kasi kung ombudsman, generally yung ombudsman talaga is hindi sila na, although pwede silang mag-suspend, but sila yung prosecutor eh. Prosecutor sila ng mga government official na parang sila yung fiscal, kumbaga, ng government official na nagkasala or has been complained of to have, for example, they have practiced corrupt practices. Parang sila po yung prosecutor. But kung civil service commission naman po yung titingnan natin, and when it comes to, kasi for example, ang doktor have committed some infraction that although hindi siya under the jurisdiction of the ombudsman, it is under the jurisdiction of the Civil Service Commission. Parang ganun po. Since they are the front lines po, pwede po siyang makonsider na instead of suspension, pwede lang po penalty because of what is happening, di ba? Ngayon sa pandemya pa. So, fine, pwede pong ma-impose siya as a penalty. But kung merong circumstances po na pwedeng ang fine instead of penalty, these circumstances are kung ang respondent office is impressed with national interest, kung yung opisina niya mismo is parang, for as I said earlier, kung doktor siya. So it is impressed with national interest po. Since parang kung isususpend mo yung doktor, I mean, maaapektuhan po talaga yung services ng government, especially it's pandemic nowadays. Next will be when the respondent is directly dealing with the public and the personnel complement of the office is insufficient to perform such function. For example po, yung mga tao sa treasurer's office, di ba po, kulang po yung mga tao nila. So, isuspend mo, then yung kwan mismo, yung government services, maaapektuhan. So, instead of suspension, i-fine na lang po natin. The next would be when the respondent committed the offense without using or abusing the powers of this position. Parang nagkamali lang po siya.
Okay.
But yung pagkakamali niya, hindi niya ginamit yung posisyon niya or parang na-prove naman na hindi niya inabuso yung posisyon niya. And lastly po, yung respondent has already retired or otherwise separated from the government service. Pwede po nating instead of suspension, since nag-retire na siya or he voluntarily retired or he has already separated from the government, pwede po nating i-fine or yung makukuha niyang parang retirement benefit, pwede po nating bawasan as a penalty for the infraction that he did.
Okay. So, ibig sabihin pala, basta importante sa isang government office yung function na ginagawa ng isang government official, pwede siyang, imbis na suspension, pwedeng gawing fine. Kasi baka nga naman talaga, since kailangan ng tao, baka matigil yung operasyon tapos talagang mag-cause pa ng lalong problema. Pero, attorney, hanggang saan or hanggang magkano ang pwede mong ipataw na fine?
Yung payment of fine po natin, it shall be available only if the penalty imposed is 6 months or less at the ratio of 1 day suspension to 1 day fine. Failure to pay po, if they will fail to pay the fine, shall bring back the penalty of suspension. So, kailangan po yung suspension nila must not be over 6 months po. Parang ganun po siya.
Okay, paano attorney kung let's say hindi kayang bayaran yung fine? Let's say sabihin na natin hindi kaya kasi imposibleng hindi kayang bayaran pero ayaw. Pero sabihin na hindi kayang bayaran. Paano yung mga ganun, attorney?
Pwede din po nilang bayaran yun in installment. Meron din binibigyan po din po sila ng option to have the fine be paid in installment basis. Although that installment, parang may time constraint po siya eh. Kasi po, for example, if a fine is equivalent to 1 month's salary, it shall be paid within 2 months. Tapos kung ang fine po natin is, for example, 6 months na salary, it shall be paid within 12 months. parang times 2 po siya kung tutuusin na parang may period but hindi in a way yung 1 month salary mo na fine you must be paid that fine in 2 months or kung 6 months it must be paid in a year. Parang ganun po yung time constraint po yung pagbabayad ng installment dyan.
Okay. Attorney, pwede bang, let's say, kung sakali talagang hindi kakayanin, pwede bang sabihin na lang ng disciplining authority na, sige, huwag ka na lang magbayad ng fine. Sa susunod na lang siguro, pero tuloy mo muna yung trabaho mo. Pwede ba yung mga ganun?
It's it's for the benefit of the public office. And as we said earlier, public office is a public trust. Hindi naman po siguro pwede for a public officer that his sworn duty na nilabag niya, pababayaan na lang. The proper, kung hindi pa talaga siya makakapagbayad ng fine, masususpend po siya.
Okay.
Yan po.
Alright. Okay, attorney, magbe-break ulit tayo saglit. Pagbalik natin, tribunal segment naman tayo. So, wag po kayong aalis at babalik pong muli ang Kalingang Katribu Legal Diaries.
Magpabakuna kayo.
This public service advisory is brought to you by Daily Tribune and 100.3 RJFM.
Oh, vaccination, isolation. Gotta keep up with my nutrition. Gotta maintain my body condition. Then I can take my vaccination. What do I choose? What do I take? As long as it is not a fake. AstraZeneca, Moderna, BioNTech, even Sinovac, okay na. Pababakuna ka ba? 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 Vaccination for the nation, no more isolation. With vaccination, pababakuna ka ba? 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 Paturok, paturok, paturok.
This public service advisory is brought to you by Daily Tribune and 100.3 RJFM.
Magpabakuna kayo.
Babalik po muli ang Kalingang Katribu Legal Diaries at syempre kasama pa rin natin si Atty. Julo Taleon. Alright, Attorney, ito ang segment natin ngayon para sa ating Tribune Know. The Philippine Civil Service was established in the 1900s by the Second Philippine Commission during the American colonial rule. Under the leadership of American William Howard Taft, the Second Philippine Commission passed a law, Public Law Number 5, on the establishment of a system to secure an efficient civil service in the country on March 16, 1990. 1900s to, siguro baka 1900s to, attorney. Alright. Ito, attorney, siguro ito yung baka ito yung sinasabi nilang pagbubukas ng civil service dito sa ating bansa. Baka ito yung ng tribunal natin ngayon. Alright.
A correction lang po, sir. It's not March. It's supposed to be September 19. Kaya
19.
we are celebrating the civil service. This is the 121st Philippine Civil Service Anniversary.
Okay.
Kaya maraming yung mga government offices ngayon it's Public Act Number 5 o an act for the establishment. Yan po yung parang source talaga kung ano yung sinimulan ng civil service sa Pilipinas.
Yan, okay. So parang ito yung history ng birthday ng
yes, sir.
civil service sa bansa na pinangunahan ni William Howard Taft. Ngayon, na-encounter ko na naman si William Howard Taft. Dati sa libro lang nababasa to. Okay, so ibig sabihin, attorney, ito 1900s pa talaga nag-start ang...
Yes, sir.
Since na-colonize tayo ng US. talagang sinimulan nila yung parang civil service or yung
At finormalize po.
Mm.
Kasi at that time, kung titingnan natin, we were under the Spanish regime.
Oo.
Parang there's no such formality when it comes sa government service.
Oo.
It's all about yung mga Spanish, yung
Gobernador General.
yung Gobernador General, yung mga praile, kung
Yan,
titingnan natin,
oo.
they are composed of the government. But historically speaking, yung pag-formalize talaga ng civil service was done if I'm not mistaken, it's President Taft by virtue of Public Act number 5. And it was signed or it was effective this September 1900, sir.
Okay.
So we are celebrating it this month. And for the Civil Service Commission pala and to all the government employees, happy anniversary po sa inyong lahat.
Happy birthday sa Civil Service
Happy
Commission. Okay. Alright, attorney, ito na lang yung oras natin. Bago tayo tuluyang magpaalam sa ating mga viewers, any parting shots sa attorney Julo?
I'd like to greet na lang Attorney Alfred. Thank you sa pagsalang mo sa akin dito sa Post to Be sa'yo to. And I'd like to congratulate pala Bikasin who will be having his wedding tomorrow. Congrats.
Okay. Congrats. Congratulations. All right. Okay, maraming salamat po sa oras na inilaan niyo sa amin, Atty. Juan Romulo Taleon. At magkita-kita po tayong muli sa susunod na Biyernes para sa isa na namang edisyon ng Kalingang Katribu Legal Diaries. Muli po ako si Elmer Navarro Manuel at magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.